I think they deserve a round of applause for bringing this to Muscatine and bringing the skills and people from all around the world. You know, Hugo as well. Thank you for coming up from Texas. That's awesome. A guy from Texas came up here to Muscatine. Yeah. How cool is that? Very cool. Wow. So thank you guys. Special was kind of brought about my love for the horror genre. I'm that creepy guy that is misunderstood by parents and other people. So it was kind of a mixture of my appreciation for the original 70s movie Carrie and the 80s movie Firestarter. And I wanted to kind of mix the two together. The telekinetic child, and you know, she's in some serious danger from some difficult situations that she's been put in, and so she has to resort to her special power to thwart the threat. So that's where that came about. It also was, as a child, being abducted was always one of my greatest fears. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and the whole Johnny Gosh situation in Iowa was pretty huge and very terrifying to me. And so bringing a horror to life that is on film, that is something that really happens in reality, is difficult. And I think she played it off pretty well. So, what do you think?
Yeah.
How old are you?
What?
How old are you?
I'm 11.
So 11 years old. I can say for sure that was a great job acting. So let's give her a round of applause. You can only imagine the behind the scenes of your father directing you in some of those circumstances and bringing together the visual with the story and being very believable. And so we're happy to have any questions for her as well. But introduce us to the rest of your cast here.
Well, yeah, this is great that you guys want to hear from me all this information, but these people were instrumental in bringing this movie together, and I couldn't have done it without them. They're just as important to this movie as I am. So I'm going to turn it over to them, and they can introduce themselves.
Perfect, thank you.
I'm Rachel Wells, and I live here in Iowa.
Dan Hampel also did lighting.
I'm Deanna Jemanowski, and I'm executive producer.
Nice. Yeah, this is a rare opportunity to have like some people involved in that perspective as well. So hopefully you enjoy the opportunity to present this to a larger audience. So I've got some questions, but any questions that you've got brewing? And Molly, you start us off.
You touched, like you said, like the Johnny Gosh thing, you touched a really real scenario. Was it hard to find somebody who was willing to play the kidnapper and, like, put a knife to a young girl's throat and snip her in that?
The kidnapper was actually supposed to be here tonight. He probably didn't make it due to the weather. He lives over in Illinois. He's off working on taking another child. But I worked with Jeb on a previous film that he and I both acted in, and he wanted to be in a production I had shown him here last year that he just didn't fit the role for, and I kind of had him in mind when I created the role of the kidnapper. We went and met Jeb in Davenport way before we even shot Special. Because I wanted Kaylin to be comfortable working with Jeb. And we sat down, we had lunch. She sat in the booth next to him. They had a good time. They got along great. He's a super nice guy, very creepy on film.
Yeah, perfect.
But they got along great. Did you like working with Jeb?
I loved working with Jeb, and when that lunch was over, I talked to Dad and I said, "Oh, it's a big teddy bear."
On the set, Kaylin had a safe word. And so at any point during the filming, if she felt uncomfortable with anything, everybody on set knew what the safe word was. If she ever said it, everybody knew that the production stopped instantly. And so that was one of my concerns, not only being the director, the producer, but also being her father, is that I wanted this experience for her to be positive, and if it wasn't, then we needed to stop and work things out and find a way that it was going to be comfortable for her. Who else? Come on. Yes.
It was a creepy basement. How did you locate the basement?
There's a bar and grill in Mount Vernon which is where we live, Michaela and I and my beautiful wife, honey, that we frequent quite often. It's called Scores Bar and Grill. It's an old limestone building, and I noticed somebody coming up out of a door in the middle of the bar one time, and I asked the owner, "You guys have a basement here?" He's like, "Oh yeah." "Is it dingy and dirty and gross?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can I go down and look at it, please?" What do you want to go down in our basement for? And we're known around Mount Vernon as being filmmakers, so I think he kind of had an inkling of an idea, but yeah, we went down there, and it felt very much like Buffalo Bill's lair in Silence of the Lambs, when we went down there and walked around, and you couldn't see it on the screen, but when we're filming it, there's this mist of dust and haze throughout the entire shoot that, I went home and blew my nose, and just black, gross, nasty stuff came out of it, so probably a little cancer soon. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yes?
I didn't have a question, it was more of a comment. I definitely could tell that Carrie, the reference to Carrie immediately. I mean, you just see it, and it's the blood on her, and that's...
But it was original, yes.
So I just wanted to commend you.
How did you like working with blood, Caitlin?
That's not the trailer.
Her distress was real.
The special effects, how did you guys do that?
We hired a special effects artist out of Illinois. Her name was Kathy King. She drove in, and they had this big PVC pipe, filled it up with, what's that? Yeah, it was like a potato gun. Filled it up with fake blood and pumped it up with compressed air and pulled the trigger, and boom. There it went.
One take, huh?
One take.
Nice.
Got a question, Sean?
Yes, so we've all sort of talked about it and discussed it, but I was wondering if you sort of face any challenges being the director, and whether this is the first time or not, but working with drastic age differences, and then also one being your daughter. There are certain challenges, though, you face.
I think the biggest challenge I face in working with somebody so young is that I have to, at times, pull back and remember that she's 11. I'm very passionate about making films. I do it for the love of making films, and I want everything to be perfect when I do it. And when it's not, I lose my focus. I love working with my daughter. I originally had a film here last year called Bring Me a Dream. I'm not sure if anybody saw it, but I wrote and directed that specifically because everything that I had done before was a little too intense for somebody of her age, and she wasn't able to go to any of the film festivals with us and experience any of it. And she expressed to me a disappointment in not being able to share this experience. And so I wrote something that was very kid-friendly, but still horror-themed. That's just what I do, I'm sorry. And brought her on board, and I think that's the other thing that's difficult is to work with her and try to keep her motivated to keep reading the script, memorize your lines. What do you think the character's doing in this? What do you think? And not just tell her, in this scene, I want you to deliver a line like this. I want her to think it through. I want her to understand it and to develop that character like an actress should. And ever since we introduced her to acting, she's not slowed down. She's been in 3 or 4 plays, and we've got a production in Nebraska that recently just hired her to be in their film. And we've got a producer up in South Dakota that wants her to be in their film, and so she's been busy. That's good. I'm a proud dad. So, please. Yes.
Talk about the trailer scene. I like that. It's different. That was separate.
The trailer was shot at the end of my driveway, and we had a 11-year-old girl. Were you 11 at the time? No, you were 10. We had a 10-year-old girl out in the middle of the street slathered with fake blood and people driving by. What is going on? Yeah, again, luckily people in Mount Vernon know me and I've seen weird stuff like that. But, the trailer is an extension of the movie, actually. It's her journey after she leaves the kidnappers later and where she's going and what's happening. She's just trying to get home to her mom and dad. So it meant to, pique people's interests, and it seemed to have done that. And so, does that answer your question? Okay, I'm going to ramble about that.
Was it originally part of the movie and then cut it into the trailer, or just?
No, I just came up with it. Thank you.
What kind of power was she using? Was it like telepathic? Or?
Telekinesis, telekinetic. She's just a badass.
That's an understatement.
Yes.
Rachel, your emotions were so real, so raw.
Explain to us how you got into that state of mind, please.
Yes.
I actually, before every take, I had to take a quick minute and just walk away. Because on sets, there's joking, there's laughter and everything. So you have to step away for a minute and collect yourself and then come back and, okay, we're so.
And start crying.
Yes, that's right.
It's fun.
Right?
How did you like working with Rachel?
Intimidating. It was great. I always wondered what you were going up and thinking about, that you would come back and remain in tears for, 6 or 8 hours. And do you suffer from PTSD? I'm kidding. It was an honor to work with you.
It was, you're with these people all day long, and then at the end of the day, I wasn't smiling, I was sad, obviously, all day long. And at the end, when you're wrapped, you're like, hey! You get a smile and be happy. So it was probably, people saw me smile for the first time, like at the very end of the day.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I think most of us were walking on eggshells around Rachel most of the day, except for. Anyway.
Oh, never.
But when an actress is in that moment, it's difficult to be around them, to work with them, and for me being the director and being an actor first and foremost, I'm very specific with my actors, and I work with them a lot on the set, and it's tough to go up and approach her. She's very professional, and she knows what she's doing, and luckily I didn't have to give her a whole lot of direction. She pretty much nailed it. So.
Were those green bracelets the bracelets?
Oh, the bracelet.
What does he want? Tell him what he's won,
In case anybody didn't notice, the father, the mother, and the daughter were all wearing green bracelets in the film. That was kind of my J.J. Abrams homage, and just what's going on with the green bracelets? You know, there's a connection there somehow. So
He's the first one to nail it.
Well, I saw it said brain.
they are the glow in the dark Bring Me a Dream bracelets. So yes, we've connected special to Bring Me a Dream. Somebody do it. What?
I don't think they asked me up back there, but what about Caitlin? Which one would you like to do better? Bring Me a Dream or Bring Me Special?
I kind of like doing special more because I felt like I knew much more on what to do than the first time I was actually.
Other questions?
What'd you shoot this one?
It was a red Epic. Epic camera.
I just want to say, I really liked your little giggle. That was fun. That was just like totally awesome. You did a good job. Thank you.
We've got one last treat. We've got a new film that we're getting ready to go into pre-production on, and we're going to start shooting in 2015. And we just shot a trailer for it last Saturday, and we've already got it pieced together, and we wanted to world premiere it here for everybody tonight. So everybody's got an extra minute and 15 seconds. Sit back. We want to introduce you to our friend Max.
Yeah, exactly. That's exciting. Nick, you were in that. Maybe not, but so glad and excited to see who.